Hello everyone, could you hear my voice?
Yep.
Yeah.
Clear.
Yeah.
We
I can
hear
hear you.
you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Okay. Uh,
Okay, thank you. And Potato, I think we still have one or two guests uh, need to come in, so maybe we should wait 1 minute more, and so we can start. Okay.
Hi. I'm so sorry if there's like noise at the background. So let's get started. Welcome to Neo Talks, hosted by NeoWave Academy, a highly specialized educational platform designed to empower traders, investors, and Web3 enthusiasts with cutting edge insights and practical knowledge about crypto trading and blockchain ecosystem. So if you're ever lost in the fast moving world of crypto, NeoWave is here to guide you. So make sure to follow us for more high signal content and market deep dives. So now on to today's hot topic, which is about Pump.fun. So Pump.fun, like, especially. So even as Solana sees tens of thousands of meme coins launch daily, the era of everyone get rich feels very, very far behind us. But then came a shockwave, so which is Pump.fun's 10 billion USD token launch at a 4 billion USD evaluation, introducing PUMP Pump token. So, is this the start of a new on-chain infrastructure era, or just another liquidity play disguised as innovation? So in today's AMA, we will explore a few points. So the first one is pump funds, tokenomics and valuation logic, whether PUMP pump token can actually sustain value, the controversial airdrop and its implications, and last but not least, how this platform is reshaping or draining Solana's ecosystem. So let's dive in. And before we were to legit dive into today's topic, let's have our guests to introduce themselves and the project they represent. So, with that, first, can we have Corey, who is the CEO of RuneSoul, to introduce himself and the project? Hi, Corey. Wait, Corey is the one not here. So you know what? It's okay. He will join in later. So with that, next, can we have Elsa, who is the community leader for Media, to introduce herself and the project. Hi, Elsa.
Absolutely. So great to see you again, Potato, and your voice sounds as nice as before. So I'm Elsa from Maya. So what is Maya? Maya, it is the revolutionizing way that we provide to people to interact with the digital economic. And our Maya is not just another crypto project, it is a platform that combines with cutting edge blockchain technology with real world applications, which is designed to empower the whole creators and users alike with a focus on decentralization, utility, and seamless integration into daily life. So, Maya is here to define how people day before and how we experience in this Web3 connection. So, and also we launch on XT Gate, Albank, and Jucorn. So feel free to just check on us. And we're also launching something called our Media Mastercard, which is definitely the game changer way to spend your crypto anywhere. And our Mastercard is accepted whether you're shopping online or in store. You can basically just use our token to pay everything. And we also connect with like Alipay, PayPal, stuff like that. So get ready to unlock the power of Web3 with Maya. And thank you for having us here today.
Thank you very much, Elsa, for hopping in today. So, with that, if you can hear a kid at the background, that's not my kid. I don't have a kid yet. So, yeah, I would like to apologize for that. So, with that, let's head on to Rebecca, who is the ambassador for Chain Think, to introduce herself and the project. Hi, Rebecca.
Hello, I'm Rebecca from Chainlink, and we're a next-gen crypto media platform focused on cutting-edge trend analysis and breaking industry news. So for collaboration opportunities, feel free to DM us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice to have you here. I am not sure for others, but probably it's just me. But Rebecca, I cannot hear a word you said. I'm so sorry. But again,
Hello?
it's probably just me. So with that, let's head on to Hash Whales BD, which is Archie. Hi, Archie. Could you introduce yourself and the project?
Hey, thank you, host. My name is Archie, and I represent Hashwell. What we are is we are a cloud mining platform. So that means we are miners ourselves, but we kind of taking a bit of our hash rate and we do it in a retail form to sell it to everyday users, which is the best and the easiest way for everyday people to take part in Bitcoin mining. And we kind of also want to build a something like an entire new ecosystem on it through our earn and also the electricity loan products, which is something truly amazing if you kind of like incorporate the fixed outcomes of a own product and the electricity bill prepaid in a long-term future. So stay tuned for us. And at the moment, we are looking for collaborations with KOL and communities. So if anyone is interested in collaborations, please DM us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Archie. So if any one of you are interested in Hashwell, please do head to their Twitter and slide into the DMs. Am I right, Archie?
Yep, that would be perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. So with that, let's head on to head of community of DApp OS, which is Taylor. Hi, Taylor. Could you introduce yourself and the project?
Yeah, so as just mentioned, I am currently head of community at DAppOS. For those of you who have not heard of our project or new, we are an intent execution network and we are pioneering the future of intent-centric blockchain infrastructure. So to dive into that more specifically, what exactly is intent? We're basically providing users with their desired outcome. So as a Web3 user, I have my intentions, right? I have things that I plan to do, something I want to carry out on chain. And we can get those users from point A to point B in as minimal steps as possible. So it's basically very user experience focused, very user friendly. Yeah, that's what we are and what we do. And thanks again for having me in Dapolis today. Excited to get into the topic.
Sure. Thank you very much, Taylor, for hopping in and joining today's discussion with us. So with that, let's get started. So first question is Pump.fun's 4 billion USD evaluation actually justified? So what do you think? So does its daily revenue back it up, or is it just another VC's opportunity to actually yeet themselves out of this, industry. With that, can we have Taylor first?
Yeah, sure. I think this question, when you hear the word valuation, it's kind of a tricky word because, we are the people who set value to things. Like at one point, gold was just something floating in the river, or gold was something in the dirt, right? And then people started finding gold and people started to put this value towards it. It's almost like when a project receives a valuation, it's based on so many different factors. But um, like the revenue, I looked a little bit specifically at the numbers that Pump funded, and right after Donald Trump was elected, when the whole meme cycle went crazy, they were doing anywhere from like 7 to 15 million per day, and obviously a lot of that steam has burned out, and right now they're doing anywhere from 1 to 2, with low numbers being less than 200,000. So the numbers are still there and everything's on chain, so you're still able to see those numbers. Numbers don't lie. But I say, like, during the meme cycle, obviously it was huge, like I mentioned, 7 to 15 million, and then now things have died off a little bit. But I guess from my perspective, I wouldn't say it's super sustainable, just because it's fueled by meme coins, and I'm all for meme coins. I was part of that cycle. I was trading and everything. But when the memes cool, so do the earnings, right? So it's like things start to die down, that's when the earnings start. So this section of the market can be very volatile, but I do understand why the VCs are so bullish, just because the way that Pump Fund was able to print money, with real fees, real product, real users, real fees, right? So everything makes sense. But you can't overlook the whole volatile aspect of memes, just because of all the rug pulls, pumps and dumps, things like this. But I think, for the most part, I do understand. I think the 4 billion valuation is justified, just because of the numbers that they were purely able to put out, when the Pump on was the top of their game. So yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents.
Thank you very much, Taylor. I do understand what you mentioned about pump fund is actually printing out money. It's everybody is actually earning a lot from pump fund, so it actually makes sense uh where pump fund's 4 billion evaluation comes from. So with that, can we head on to Rebecca?
Yes, from my point of view, I think it really depends on how you define value in this market. If we're talking about fundamentals, sure, daily revenues has spiked, but 4B feels like it prices in meme dominance plus informal plus cultural relevance. That's a high bar. That said, Pump Fund isn't just a meme factory; it's onboarding thousands dailies and re-architecting how early stage speculation works. So yes, there's still real product market fit, but whether that justifies 4B or signals a VC exit top, I think that's what the next 90 days will show. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. So with that, can we head on to Archie?
Hey, thank you, host. So it's like a two-part question. So the first part is Pump Fund's 4 billion valuation actually justified? My answer is a simple yes. It reflects its extraordinary early performance. And let me just show you guys a few figures. So the peak revenue in its like heyday, late 2024 and early 2025, Pump Fund was pulling in 10 million up to like 15 million per day. That's a crazy number. And it's also scaling. It's burnished the cumulative total of like 400 million to 600 million within its first year. And yeah, even with the recent slowdown since January from now, the daily revenue is still something between 10,000, sorry, 100,000 and 1 million per day, which is still a lot. And by the valuation takeaway, I would say 4 million, 4 billion valuation, yeah, it's justified. So it doesn't mean like there's like all the pretty pictures. It still have some like risk factors let's say market volatility, and also something that we all know, like most of the tokens launched on Pump.fun is just like pump and dump. And also there might be like future regulatory and legal issues that may be a threat to the long-term valuation to the platform, and also the ethical backfire, which is kind of resonates with the earlier issue that I mentioned. Most of the tokens launched on Pump.fun just like, yeah, it's just like a pure gamble game. And yeah, in conclusion, 4 billion valuation is totally justified, at least as what we are speaking today. And I also have some long-term doubts about its future. That's all I have to say about this topic. The stage is back to you, host. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Archie. I do stand with you on this. Pump Fund, there are a lot of tokens on Pump Fund are literally pump and just dump. And I everybody actually do understand that there are ethical issues and legal issues around Pump Fund itself in general, not only just the tokens or like how they want to actually run the platform and all those stuff. So I do actually agree that it's a gamble. So with that, let's head on to Elsa. So Elsa, what do you think?
Great. So is Pump Fund's 4 billion valuation actually justified? So, well, the 4 billion valuation of Pump Fund is a point of heated debate recently. So, well, on the surface, it looks like a massive leap, especially for platform in the meme coin space. So, which is historically volatile and speculative. So, however, how to determine whether this valuation is justified, we need to go deeper for both the daily revenue and their ecosystem of the platform. So as for the daily revenue, I think Pump Fund claims a strong revenue stream with high token circulation and like daily trading activity. But why that sounds impressive at first, I think daily revenue alone doesn't always justify such a high valuation. While meme coin can spike quickly on based on hype, but they are the meanwhile they are quite unstable. So it's crucial to ask like does this revenue come from sustainable activity or is it just a result of initial hype that fade as quick as it arrives? So well, if a significant portion of that revenue is tied to speculative trading rather than just actual user engagement or utility, then it might just be a temporary bubble waiting to burst. Well, so my take is in the world of crypto, valuation can reflect a combination of market sentiment and also future potential and speculation. If Pump Fund is able to back up its 4 billion valuation with a real world like utility, like contributing to Solana's ecosystem beyond the meme coin narrative, well, I think it's definitely not the burst bubble. Well, thank you. That's a great question.
Thank you very much, Elsa. That's a very good uh, claim as well. So I do agree that when Pump Fund, when actually a lot of tokens as well, or like a lot of projects, they were to claim that their tokens have a lot of value, a strong value, and like their token circulation is strong, and the daily revenue actually justifies their valuation. So in this sense, a lot of people were to think that it actually makes sense. So the amount of daily revenue actually justifies Pump Fund's 4 billion valuation. But I like what you mentioned. So is it just a short-term hype, or is it just like a marketing strategy, or like does the valuation actually reflects a combination of market sentiment or the future speculation? So I also really agree what you mentioned that. So having a valuation, it's best that you can actually back it up with real world utilities so that you can actually, on my perspective, onboard more Web 2 users onto Web 3. That's how we actually we can expand, right? So with that, thank you very much, Elsa. So let's head on to the next topic, shall we? So can PUMP, pump token, actually hold value? So why are users actually calling it quote unquote exit liquidity for insiders? So with that, let's have Rebecca.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yes, yes, yes. I can hear you. That's great. I can hear you finally.
Okay,
Please.
thank you. From my take, the exit liquidity narratives comes from the structure. Many feel the token was dropped after most of the network effect had already been extracted, and that insiders got a lion's share. So whether Pump can hold value really depends on what utility, if any, gets tied back to the token. So right now it feels like a momentum trade. If it becomes a governance for future infra or gets integrated into the launch mechanism itself, I think that could shift. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. I do understand what where you're coming from. So with that, let's head on to Elsa.
Great. So I think one of the primary concerns around Pump is that it's being called exit liquidity for insiders. So this actually means that the early investor and VCs could be using the hype and excitement surrounding this whole Pump to sell their holdings at a profit. And meanwhile, the retail traders are left holding the bag once the token's price crashes. So this phenomenon occurs when this initial push in token values is not driven by real demand, just like I mentioned before. So, but rather by insider sales and speculative trading. I think if the supply of pump token is too concentrated in the hands of a few, it could mean that those insiders with profits at their they quite easy to expand of their is is at the expense of regular users. So I think this exit liquidity situation is common in tokens with no real utility. So like where the primary value proposition is the speculation on its price increase, and if the insider see a chance to cash out before the price drops, so they will kind of push the price up artificially. So I think knowing that they can sell at the top is quite dangerous as well. So unfortunately, once those early VCs they sell, and the price typically will crash because the real use case hasn't caught up with the hype, and there's no long-term users kicking in. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Elsa. I I really like what you mentioned that these kind of trash talk, I would call it, quote unquote trash talk. It's how early investors are like usually using it as hype, or it's totally common for tokens that are TGE ing or ongoing TGE, those without any utilities or like any RWA relationship, were to, you know, everybody would to say, it's gonna dump, or oh, it's gonna be my exit liquid. Yeah, it's just trash talk. So, DYOR, guys. So, with that, let's head on to the next topic. So, is Pump.fun empowering Solana or draining it? So why is it accused of undermining Radium and other launchpads, and yet still dominates the meme coin scene? So with that, let's have Taylor. Taylor, what do you think?
I think definitely if you look at users and anyone who specifically got into crypto during the meme coin cycle, a lot of people jump straight into Solana. Like I know specifically my wallet, there was a lot going in and out of Solana just because most of the coins were trading on Solana, right? So this is bringing new users not only into Solana's ecosystem but into the Web3 ecosystem. So I think for sure it definitely did onboard thousands of new developers and users, and then obviously it helped Solana stay culturally loud. Like Solana is a big project. They've got a great online presence. But it's not the big dogs, like a Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? Those are just a whole different level. But Solana was put on the map in a really big scale when, the whole Pump.fun meme run happened. But I again at the same time, there's always, the pros and the cons. I do think it's not a bad look for Solana, but at the same time, there's like low effort coins, or there's these coins that are launched with like, we always have to talk about the pump dumps and the rug pulls and everything. And then I think when it comes like from a developer, I'm not a developer, but from like a developer standpoint, there's not a whole lot of long-term value that created, all of these new users, just because probably a lot of those users that jumped onto Solana for the specific meme coin run with Pump Fun, they're probably not trading these days just because of the market, right? Um, so yeah, I think that's just my specific opinion towards Solana, whether or not it's powering or draining it. And then I guess when it comes to Radium or other launch pads, is because the barrier to entry is so easy with Pump Fun. Anyone, my mother could launch a coin on Pump Fun if she wanted to, as long as the UX was simple enough to figure out. But I think because of that, a lot of times you skip those traditional launch pads like Radium or these other projects. Um, and then I think there's not a whole lot of community behind it. There was whole like the live stream thing that went off the rails, where everyone was like doing these crazy live streams just to pump their tokens. And yeah, it's crazy for like a day, but there's not really a whole community built around that. Community takes time. So I think a lot of that was just built around hype. Um, but yeah, I think, you know, for the moment, it's a great thing for Solana and, meme kind of the meme run and everything. But who knows long term, hopefully Pump Fund introduced a lot of new users into Web3, but it's a matter of keeping those users. Like, obviously, when the market's not hot, a lot of these people are going to leave. So, I think, yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents.
Thank you very much, Taylor. I so this is a time where I say I cannot. I stand in the middle. I wouldn't like specifically say what you mentioned, but I do agree that uh launching a token these days is very easy. As you mentioned, your mother can do it, my dad can do it, my grandmother who actually passed away 10 years ago can actually, come back alive and do it as well. So, you can actually do that on Pun Fun. So with that, let's head on to Archie. So Archie, what do you think?
Yeah, first of all, I want compliments on your comments on your dead grandmother can come back and do it. That's hilarious. So, it actually, let's just talk about the brighter side. So, how Pump Fund empowers Solana. Uh, First of all, it brings like a massive user growth. Over 30 million wallets have used Pump Fund, and of course, most of them are on Solana. And this has brought an unprecedented wave of retail engagement, liquidity, and awareness to the network. And also, it helps Solana to boost its revenue fees. So at the peak, like Pump.fun generated millions in daily transactions, which is like a lot, contributed heavily to Solana's gas fees. And also for Solana's transfer transaction volumes and TVL, it also like spiked during the meme coin season, and it's strictly like very tied to Pump Fund. And also it's no code onboarding for creators, which is something very easy for everyone to participate, to basically just like unlocks a new class of meme coin creators. And now the part that is not so bright, why it's undermining Radium and other launch pads. So first of all, zero utility and instant exit tokens. And something I mentioned earlier on the previous question is that most tokens on Pump.fun is entirely worthless, and most of them are just like pump and dump. And also it bypasses the traditional launchpad mechanisms. Traditionally, all we need to do to launch a token, we need the token to have its utility, we need them to publish white papers, we need investor trust. Well, Pump.fun skips all that, replacing it with a pure speculation and meme hype. Also, for the liquidity, meme coin pull attention and capital from serious projects. So like Radium's LPs are increasingly ignored, with trading and volume dominated by Pump.fun fairs. And also the culture shift is something like the impact like deep and profound. It's Pump.fun has made Solana a casino chain in the eyes of many people, and for projects that are building with real world use cases or like infrastructures, they are actually struggling to have visibility during the meme mania. And so I would say the conclusion, the verdict is that based on different aspects, so on the user growth side of things, it helps to boost Solana, and on the trading volume side of things, and also the gas fee side of things, it's also boosting Solana. But in several other ways, it's hurting Solana, like the builder support, reputation, and liquidity depth. So yeah, it's something like wildly popular, undeniably impactful, but is it a good thing for the serious systematic side? I'm not so sure. So yeah, that's all I have to say about this topic. Thank you, host.
Thank you very much, Archie. I did not catch what you mentioned at the end, but I got, I got you. I got what you mentioned in between. So I wanted to point out that you're so familiar with Pump.fun. You might actually be the next dude, next superstar to list your own token and have your token blooming on Pump.fun. You never know. So as mentioned, in conclusion, it is so easy to list the token on Pump.fun, where my grandmother who passed away 10 years ago can actually come back alive and list her own grandma token. Thank you very much, Archie. So with that, let's have Elsa. Elsa, what do you think?
Great. So I think the question of whether Pump Fund is empowering or draining Solana is at the heart of the broader discussion about the token's impact on the Solana ecosystem. So, well, Solana did has a great reputation for being a fast, scalable blockchain, and projects basically built on it can significantly contribute to its success. So, well, however, if those projects only provide short-term hype without like offering real utility, they were actually risking undermining the value of the entire ecosystem. So, well, in theory, Pump Fund could be a major boost to the Solana ecosystem, but only if Pump Fund integrates effectively with Solana-based applications like the apps or DeFi protocols. But it could contribute to network growth by attracting more users. And liquidity and even attention to Solana. So with two with two conditions. First, liquidity and volume. So if Pump.fun tokenomics incentive users to engage in Solana based DeFi or NFT platform, it can increase transaction volume on Solana, so which also benefits the blockchain's overall health and adoption, and also adoption of Solana's speed and scalability. So like meme coins like Pump.fun are often seen as entry points for new users into the broader crypto ecosystem. So if the token becomes popular, it could introduce like newcomers to Solana's fast transaction and lower fees. So potentially pushing them to explore more serious applications in the whole DeFi world or decentralized governance. So however, this potential is dependent on like real world use case as well. So if Pump.fun doesn't evolve beyond this speculative assets and doesn't build meaningful applications within Solana, I think its effect on Solana could remain limited to high driven short-term growth and with also without contributing a long-term ecosystem development. So but also it can drain Solana as well. So on the flip side, Pump.fun has been accused of draining Solana. So like people argue that its emphasis on meme coin and speculative trading could harm the ecosystem. Like for example, they kind of undermining this whole Solana's reputation because if Pump.fun is perceived as another shallow speculative project with no sustainable value, it could definitely like lead to the negative reputation of meme coins on Solana. So um also that the distraction from real projects because Pump.fun's dominance in the meme coin scene may distract users and developers from building their real utility on Solana. So, well, this both ways could happen. So, my take is for Pump.fun to actually empower Solana, it would need to move beyond the realm of meme coin speculation. And if the platform can integrate Pump into functional Web3 applications, it could serve as a gateway token to for real world case as well. So driving like more users and liquidity, stuff like that to the Solana ecosystem. Well, so um, like I was see things in two sides and thank you.
Thank you very much, Elsa. I think you are very into having tokens that have real world utilities, which in return, you can actually onboard more users into Web3 in general. So to be really honest, I'm not sure. Because I do understand that there are a lot of people, if you were to actually have tokens that have real world utilities, there are a lot of types of people in the world. They are a huge part of the community or like the society. They'll be like, oh, this is a scam, or this is gonna hack into my system and stuff. And I agree, because there are a few cases that does that. So we need to have more education, to educate those people that, what, I do understand where you're coming from, but not all does that, right? So back to the topic, I do agree, there are always two sides of a coin. Everybody would to actually point out that Pump.fun is draining Solana, but you know what? Pump.fun is actually do bringing users, increasing transaction volumes, and it actually benefits Solana in the big picture. So everybody can say what they want to say, right? So we just look at the charts, and everybody, the charts don't lie. Like Shakira's hips don't lie, but in meme coins, charts don't lie. So with that, let's head on to the last topic of the day. If if you were Pump Fund's founder, what would you do now? Would you go full on community, or would you delay the launch, or would you push the token and just go with the flow, ride the hype? So with that, can we have Rebecca first?
Yes. So I think if I were them, I'd probably slow down and recenter around community. I think they already won the attention game, but now's the time to win trust. So going for hype might work short term, but Web3 history is littered with flash in the pan tokens. So if they truly believe they're building the next meme coin infrastructure layer, then why not treat it like a protocol, not just a product? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. I like that you keep your answers short and sweet. I love it. Thank you very much. So, why not treat it like a protocol instead of just a product? So, I really, really like the sentence. So, it's something that we can all just take it back and sleep on it. Oh, why not, right? So, with that, last but not least, can we have Taylor? Taylor, what do you think?
Yeah, I like what Rebecca said about community. I'm definitely a little bit biased towards community and projects just because that's my specific role at that boys. I'm oversee the community and I know the importance of the community. But um, yeah, I think right now Pump Fun is in peak attention mode. Like, or even a few months back, right after the election, there was so many eyes on Pump Fun and like everything that was happening. It was so exciting. And then there starts to be a lot of like change and like the way people launch a token and then obviously rug pulled and stuff. So although they built this huge community in a way, like I mentioned earlier, like community really takes time to build, and they were able to build such a strong community in such a short time. They have to figure out how to keep that. So I guess to answer the specific question is I would focus community. I would go full community. I think one of the main things is you got to build that trust back, right? Like even the biggest projects, there's going to be some volatility and there's going to be some distrust. Even the safest, biggest projects in Web3, that's just, we're trusting our money with these projects. So at the same time, I'm not like Pump Fund is not perfect. Not every project is perfect, but there can be a lot of good speculation, a lot of positivity if you're able to clean up the community and everyone's kind of on the same page. Everyone has the same ideas. So first thing I would do is clean up the image. Start holding more trustworthy campaigns or like make sure the tokens that are launched, have a backstory or they're not going to be a rug pull. I guess it's hard to control that, but make the barrier for entry with these tokens, a little bit harder to get in. And then yeah, just sit on that, bake the utility, and then when the pump token does come, you're going to have more users, you're going to have bigger buyers than you would if people were just there for the short term. So and then obviously partnerships. I think with any project, pump fund specifically, just make sure you're partnering with other projects that have the same vision, other projects that want to do good for the industry. So yeah, I'm for this specific question, I'm all community.
Thank you very much, Taylor. I do agree that if the project is not about community, the project itself would not go far. So, having a project, having a business in general, you need to have a backstory, you need to have like partnerships, you need to know why you're doing it, and etc. So, in terms of Pump Fun, I do understand and I do stand with you that making the barrier entry for tokens listing harder is necessary. So not like if my grandmother were to, wake up from the dead and climb up from her grave and create a token, uh, and the token actually listed, uh, let's not make it that simple, okay? So if I, that's actually a very cool backstory. If I were to create a token, and then I'd be like, oh hey, that's my grandma. My grandma climbed out of her grave and created a token and listed on Pump.fun. I'm not sure, but I will build a community around that token. So with that, that brings us to the end of another thought-provoking session of Neo Talks. So we have peeled back the layers of Pump Fund. So from its bold valuation to the token design and the controversy behind its airdrop. Ooh. So whether you see PUMP Pump token as an essential new layer of Solana, or if you see it as a clever exit vehicle. So one thing that it's certain is that meme infrastructure is evolving fast. It's evolving faster than how Elon Musk's uh, skyrockets were to fly up in the sky. So, huge thanks to our speakers and all of you who joined us today live across CoinW, XLive, and other platforms. And once again, this AMA was brought to you by NeoWave Academy, where we decode the crypto world through education, analysis, and honest discussion like today. So if today's talk got you actually thinking, what Rebecca said, uh, you know, why why not a protocol? Why not turn your token into a protocol instead of just a product? Think about it, sleep on it. So follow NeoWave to keep learning, building, and stay ahead in Web3. So until next time, bye bye. Thank you very much to all of our guests. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.